So welcome to the Node N-API Team meeting for August 10th, 2020. We'll follow our standard approach of looking at what is in milestone 11. So let me just open that up and share. While I'm doing that, does anybody have any announcements that they'd like to share?
Nothing here.
All right.
Okay. So let me share this screen. Where we go, share screen, right. Oops, not share screen. I didn't want to do that. Share, oh, right, there we go. Okay. Okay, should be able to see it now. So the first issue is transferring the NAPI tutorials to the OpenJS Foundation. I guess we don't have Jim this week, so no update. I don't know if anybody else has any update on that.
Other than that, it's mostly working, and
right.
it's getting deployed using GitHub Actions, which is really cool.
Okay.
I don't know anything further.
Good. Yeah, I twiddled some buttons before I left and seemed to be doing the right thing, so that's good. Tracking issue for modules Node supported. I guess I don't see anything new since then. So np node add-on. Okay, so we're up to wow. So there's a bit of a dip, but then we're up to 1.8 million. So it's still heading up in the right direction, which is good.
Strange, it was 2.6 before. That's some dip. It's like a dip of 800,000.
Okay, well.
Yeah,
maybe
that was just a fluke, but we are doing well.
Yeah. So it's actually 6 days now, the 3rd to the 9th, or is it? Anyway, yeah, it's been going up in the right direction, so that's good. Yep. Okay. NodeConf workshop proposal. I don't know if there's been anything news on that one. Guess we'll wait. Jim hasn't mentioned anything. Probably no news.
Yeah, last time he said that it's basically in the conference organizers' hands now. So we've done our part, and we're just waiting to hear from them.
Okay, I'm just gonna maybe. Okay, proposal submitted. Waiting to hear from. There's one way or the other. Okay. Enable debug testing. I don't think there's been anything new on that, right? No. Issues raised by module owners. So I know that we had one issue before I went away last week that Nicola was working on. Not sure if last week you discussed that one at all.
I don't remember which one because we discussed quite a few.
Right, it was this PR. He was looking at testing for. Oh, wrong one. No add-on API.
Oh yeah, okay, that one.
Right, so.
Yeah, he might not have gotten a chance to work on it over the week.
Let me just see. Because yeah, I think it's important to get that one in a new release, because the 3.1, we set the default back to 0, but we want to have something which gets rid of the breakage in 3.1. Okay, so no update on that one though. So let's see, any other interesting new issues come in, or?
I'm trying to think.
Concentrate callbacks and to include I guess there's just these 2 that are new PRs.
Yeah. Yeah, this one gets rid of some of our exposed or some of the symbols that we create, because we have a lot of places where we provide a NAPI callback to core, and there are just too many. Like, there's no reason for there to be a separate NAPI callback for property descriptors as for functions, you know, that kind of thing. So basically, this kind of refactors it by, you know, the way in which you end up calling into the module, into the Node add-on API module, which is, you know, either void return, value return, void return with instance, value return with instance. So these are the 4 ways, right? And that can be, it doesn't matter if that's inside an object wrap, if it's inside a property descriptor, if it's inside a function. You can always use the same callback. And this only applies to templated ones so far. I'm going to try to have a look at the non-templated ones so that we can reduce the number of places where we do heap allocation.
Okay, and this is not breaking at all, I assume?
No, this is all private. This is all private. It's just implementation.
Sounds good.
While we're here, if we want to talk about the thread safe function one after the new issues.
Yep.
Oh, nice. We received a PR for this. That's good.
Yes. I took a look at this actually, because I was implementing it in my thread safe function EX PR.
Right.
So it looked good to me.
Okay.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it's refactoring the test. Okay.
Correct. To use async and promises.
Async. Okay, so that's to avoid the potential GC issues?
No, it's just for clarity, because it was already using promises, right? It's just a dot then looks a little awkward.
So it was like a follow-on to the change you made to do the chaining.
Actually, this had, I mean, yeah, basically, yeah. So just to clean things up, because as I was making that change, I realized that, okay, while the thread safe function one is correct in that it does the chaining already, it is kind of awkward in that it uses promises when it could use a much cleaner syntax. So that's why I raised this issue.
Okay. Okay, so that's good. So that's just reviews.
Cannot throw an error. I thought we had fixed that.
Guess we'll have to look.
The constructor, it should raise the exception. Okay, well, this is an interesting one, because we had just fixed this. We had like a crash if the constructor had an exception, and we fixed that, but now it seems that it's not propagating the exception. So this is interesting.
Okay, I'll have to take a look then.
Yeah.
Anything else people want to call out or discuss?
I'd like to discuss my open PR.
Yeah, which that is here. So this is
the first thread safe one.
This one?
Yep. All right. So basically, where we left off was there was I had like a timeout set for 0, and we tried using a longer timeout, and that did fix that timeout issue, but I'm still having some errors in the example with futures. So what I'm going to do is just remove that example that I had worked on and just really port the existing stuff that we have for thread safe function, because I don't really have the time to figure out what's going on with that example test. I really don't. So I'll just do that, and because I know the existing tests that we have for the thread safe function do work, because I did like a implementation where TSFN extended TSFN EX. So those should all work. And I do have already that test ported over. So I'm just going to remove that example and then put a different example on the README. And then is the correct approach then to put also an example on the Node add-on examples GitHub repo, or because I know there's been a lot of updates now with the GitHub pages and where we're hosting documentation. And I'm not really sure, kept up to date with all of those. So I'm just going to put an example also on Node add-on examples. Is there any
That's
place
always a good idea. Yeah, it never hurts to have examples, and then Jim can work them into the tutorial, and like basically link to the example from the tutorial and have like live code snapshots straight out of the repo.
At some point, like we want this, like, is there any reason people would use the older version?
The API is simpler because it allows you to have a dynamic callback function. So you can have different data types and different callbacks for your thread safe function.
Whereas, with the old thread safe function, right?
Yeah, with the old one. So some people may still want that because it has that benefit, and it may also be simpler to implement. Whereas with the new one, since it's templated arguments, it may be a little more difficult. I don't know, and you don't have that benefit of the dynamic over function calls.
Okay, I was just wondering if we want to like drive people to one versus the other.
In the PR, there is that first document there, doc threadsafe.md. If you can somehow open that up, it does explain.
Yes, the pros and cons of each.
Right.
Right. I was just wondering, like, if if we really wanted people to use one because the other one was deprecated, we might.
No. They really are alternatives to each other. So I mean, if you want to avoid heap allocations, and if you are unwilling to handle the terminating condition to make sure that there are no leaks, then you may want to use thread safe function EX. But if you're okay with handling the termination, and if you're okay with extra heap allocations in exchange for the extra benefit of being able to provide callbacks for each data item, then you'll want to use the old thread safe function. That's basically the trade-off between the two. And so it really is a trade-off.
Okay, so that was my question. So it sounds like adding a new example then versus replacing the existing one is what makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've already incorporated you guys' changes in the readmes and in the comments and everything. So then what's left is just for me to fix the example and then push that out and then do the Node add-on examples one. And hopefully I'll get that finished by the end of the week.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see. Any other issues people want to talk about?
Okay. What is that weird issue on Windows, not on Linux or Mac? That I didn't notice that one. Oh boy, this is sounds like quite a stack with Electron in there. Doesn't sometimes get called. Works on Windows when run with Node, run inside the Electron app without React. Does not work on Windows, run inside the React.js code in Electron app. Oh boy, I don't know how we're going to get a repro for this one. All right, yeah, I guess this requires a deeper dive.
Right. I mean, it never hurts to ask if you can get some minimal.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess there's a few here. Okay. I don't know.
I was answering this last week, but I haven't seen the follow up yet.
Okay. Just there now.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So if nothing else, let's just do a quick switch over to Node. No. Let's see. Let's just see if we can find an API. Okay, so none of those look new.
No. Yeah, Lucas is still working on the context thing. The one thing that has landed is asynchronous environment cleanup hooks from Anna.
Okay.
So those are now experimental and trickling backwards. And so because we are starting to have like an accumulation of new APIs, I was thinking like maybe we should start thinking about NAPI 7, right?
Yep.
And I had a thought which I ran by the group last week, and maybe I'll run it by you as well, is what if we were to have an NAPI release coincide with dropping support for like the oldest LTS, so the one that has been in maintenance. So that means we would release an API in April. And then we wouldn't have to worry so much about pushing stuff backwards, you know, and backporting and taking advantage of the leeway that we have that you know the rest of the folks are willing to backport stuff even into maintenance releases. We wouldn't have to actually use that so often. So whatever ends up getting backported all the way and is marked as experimental, which currently is like the buffer detaching stuff, we could just mark as stable, you know, in April, like as the last maintenance release, we could mark that as stable because it had already been around for at least a year, right, without any changes. And it is an API, so it is pretty stable to begin with, right? So you know, we just use that opportunity of the last minor release of the maintenance version to just release a new version of an API. And unless we backport more stuff and we push for it during the remainder of the cycle, NAPI 7 would just consist of buffer detaching stuff, which I think is fine. We don't have to like maximize whatever it is that is in a new release, right? So what do you think about that? Or do you think it's worth having like multiple releases per year and then sort of
No, I think it should be driven by when we think we need to get them out. You know, when do we need them to be out for people to use them, or is it stopping adoption or something like that? If there's nothing like, you know, it's like we're adding new features, but people can wait. I think something like what you're proposing makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Like we should sort of get a feel for the room or whatever you call that, you know, before we release. But I'm not sure. The buffer detaching stuff has been around for at least 6 months, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So and it's just kind of there. I can't tell you how many people are actually using it, you know, and what the trend is and if the fact that it's experimental is stopping people or not, but it is there and it has been for a while. So then the only stuff that wouldn't make it into 7 would be, if I'm not mistaken, the type tagging stuff that I just landed like 2 weeks ago, and the asynchronous cleanup hooks that Anna landed last week. So
would
those
we
wouldn't,
want, if like we're going to make a 7 in April, wouldn't we want to do it then? Like, wouldn't we want to include those?
Well, if we can backport them all the way to 10, right? And so I'm thinking like, especially the asynchronous cleanup hooks, they go pretty deep into Node, right? So 10 may not be equipped for those.
But 10 goes out of service in April. I thought that's why you were suggesting to do an API 7 then, right?
Yes, but the contents of an API 7 need not necessarily be everything that is experimental currently in master.
No, but I mean, it seemed like it was a reasonable time to try and say, okay, here's a new version and it includes things that we think should be available, right?
Right. But it also matters how successful we are in backporting all the way to 10, right? Because
if 10 is out of service,
well,
in
but
April,
I mean,
I thought that was the point, that you wouldn't have to go back to 10, just to 12.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you mean. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. We retire 10 with NAPI 6, and then NAPI 7 can have a larger subset of the experimental stuff, because the release that has just entered maintenance already has a lot of the backports.
Right.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's,
and not only that, like, we don't have to. We could declare a 7. and not backport it to one of the earlier releases, right?
True. Yeah.
It does kind of limit it. It does potentially limit our flexibility. Like if there is something we really wanted to backport later, we would potentially not be able to, right? But
yeah, and we have always sort of made it a point to say that, you know, an API X is now supported on all LTS releases. You know.
Yeah, I
So
think,
so
but
that we have
that
that
was,
kind of.
I think that was mostly because we thought those were like important for adoption, right?
Okay. True.
I think if it's just like, it's now getting to the point where it's like, here's some incremental things which are beneficial, but you know, we don't need to have them there for people to start adopting. We
Okay. I
could
see.
move back more to the, you know, you put the latest version into the newer releases. And so even if, like, you know, for example, 10 was going to go out of service in 4 months, you might say, well, let's cut a 7, and you know,
Yeah.
knowing that we'll never backport it to 10.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So okay. So along those lines, then I guess the priority becomes to get these things backported. And so I think the two things being the type tagging and the asynchronous cleanup hooks. The type tagging is pure JS. So I mean, not pure JS, it's pure engine, not any node internals. So that would probably be easier, the easier one of the two to backport. But Anna probably knows better. And so I guess we should make an effort to make sure that those are backported so that we can do a 7 with potentially both of those.
The 14
Does
and
that sound
12,
about right?
to 14
Yeah, for
and
14.
12, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think naturally they should get back to 14 unless there's a reason not.
Yeah.
As current, and 12 again if we push them, you know. And then I think we can think about like when, we don't need to rush either, but like, you know, when would be a good time and what feature set do we think should be in 7? And you
Yeah.
know, but yeah, I think getting those, if we think that, because we, yeah, I mean, because unless you think that those just don't need to become for a while, but I'm thinking like, you know, in April, that's still quite a ways out, right? Like we're still
Yeah.
talking 8 months away.
Yeah.
So, you know, these things, I think that's the latest we'd want to get them out.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. So
Okay.
let's keep an eye on how the backports are coming along, and then
Yep.
and then you know, when we think they've baked long enough, then we can just call them an API 7, right?
Right. So was this was just an error in the docs, right? We'd already moved them to experimental.
Oh yes. Jim pointed out during the last meeting that yeah, the doc was out of date. It was out of sync with the actual status of these APIs, and so he landed, or he submitted that PR.
Okay, good. Okay, right. So anything else that we want to talk about on? It doesn't look like there's too much else there in core. Anything else we want to talk about this week?
Thinking. Okay. There's you submitted an issue. I forget in which repo. I think it was ABI stable with some with like a kind of a tutorials page that was not Jim's but another one, if I remember correctly.
To
And I
take a
started
look
looking
at, yeah, right.
Yeah. I never got a chance to finish that.
Okay.
So I don't know. Can you remind me which issue that was and
I'm
where?
trying to find to review external examples, right? This workshop.
Oh yeah,
going
this
native,
one.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is okay, workshop or going native pool 90. Okay.
So it's already landed, but I think still, you know, taking a look and giving some feedback would be good.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yes. I was starting to review that, and I realized that since it had already landed, it would be nice if GitHub would let you review stuff like in master, but then
Right.
you just have to do the copy and or just pasting in of the snippets yourself, and then you can file an issue and call that a review.
Yeah, I mean, you could just do a PR.
Well, no, but in a PR you can only comment on the changes, right? You cannot comment on stuff that you don't change, right? And if it's already in master, then that's not stuff that's changing, right? I'd have to write a PR that changes everything and then just leave comments in the interesting things.
Well, I was thinking more like if you want to
Oh, okay, make the changes
propose
myself.
changes. Exactly.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
basically like it's landed. So if you read something and say, oh, you know, probably be better like this or like that,
yeah,
actually
yeah,
just
true.
doing a PR that suggests those changes is probably the most effective.
Yes, that's true.
And easiest, right? So.
Yeah.
Okay, any
so
others?
I've got that in the front and center again, so I'll try to get some time around for that. Let's see. That's if it's just a small observation, if and when we do a new release of Node on API, it would probably have to be Semver Minor, right? Because we got the add-on stuff in there now, so that's a new API. So
yeah,
unless we shuffle the commits to just have another patch release with just the fix.
yeah, that might make sense. Just because like we kind of broken something, and it's kind of. I don't think it's great to make it a minor. Maybe a minor is okay to fix something, but
Yeah, I mean, okay, if we're gonna have just a fix, then we need to branch off of master and then cherry pick onto the
right.
tip when the fix land.
Yep. Well, let's figure out once we can look at what's in by the time we do that to see what we should do.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
But we should be able to just branch off and make the fix too. So.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think that's it on my part.
Okay, Kevin, anything else on your side?
Nope, I'm good. I have nothing.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for everybody for taking the time to come out today, and we'll talk to everybody later.
All right.
Yep. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.